everybody. This is Christy O'Connor from Art Hustle. We are here today with Nanette Reynolds Beachner, and we are continuing the conversation of gun violence and American gun culture in conjunction with our current exhibition up at Shoshama Madawan, Thoughts and Prayers, Another Round of Vacant Stares. And Nanette Reynolds Beachner began her journey in New York City at the age of 2 months. She began traveling the world as a Foreign Service brat, living in the West Indies, Europe, and Southeast Asia. Growing up among diverse cultures, she developed a deep appreciation for both the differences and similarities found around the world. Recognizing universal values and storylines would have an indelible effect on her future artwork. This exposure to a vast array of visual stimuli, paired with her mother's involvement in the arts, inevitably drew Nanette into the art world. This interest was cultivated during her teenage years when she became involved in theater, both backstage and onstage. The skill sets developed during this time would lead to a professional career later in theater, film, television, and museum exhibition. A self-taught artist, Nanette learned as she worked, trying new materials and tools, researching historical styles, and hunting for the right props to tell the tale. These experiences allowed the artist she was to become to emerge. Nanette's own art often begins with something found, a page in a magazine, a map, or a bottle cap. Allowing that happened upon imagery or object to inspire an exploration of the unexpected fuels her approach to art. Though Nanette's art appears fantastical, the surreal imagery depicts universal stories we all share. Searching for self-love or one's place in the world, the unexpected is Nanette's call to create and her invitation to viewers to take a journey. So, Nanette, I'd like to welcome you today. Hello.
Hi. I've heard someone read that out loud.
What's that?
I've said I've never heard someone read that out loud.
How did it sound?
Sounds like a storybook.
It is like a storybook, and you know, the way you describe your work in the statement is exactly how I see your current piece in the exhibition space.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it starts out with a map. It's fantastical. So I mean, bravo on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Nanette, you are one of our current exhibiting artists in our exhibition space right now. And we were just talking prior to beginning recording about how you've been making work specifically for open calls right now because you're, because of the whole coronavirus issue that things are getting. The creative block is occurring, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Would you like to talk more about that?
Yeah. I've been working for some time on pieces that speak to my own journey in life, right? Whether my past things that I'm working on, struggles with finding myself as a kid. Growing up in different countries, coming to the United States and feeling very, I did not have a happy time when I first came to New York. It was very, very, very hard for me as a kid. So, it's a constant struggle to figure out where I belong and whatnot. Thus, this was one of my older pieces that sort of started because I sort of begin with collage, and then I sort of, sometimes I leave the collage altogether and it becomes more mixed media with paint and whatnot. And I am working on something right now that involves trees and paper and whatnot, but it was so hard during this pandemic to focus, to just go back into the studio and continue. So I started answering calls for art. And the first one that really spoke to me and helped me to break this cycle of being at home, working from home with a studio attached in my home was this Prayers for the Pandemic that the Drawing Room had put out. I think I sent you an image, which was, they asked us to create prayer flags, and photograph them. And it's included in a catalog that is for sale. I'm part of the first, wing of the catalog. I actually I took the piece off of, you can see it right here.
And what exactly, could you tell us more about what the prayers for the pandemic are?
Well, it's our own sort of solution and, hope and prayer to put it out there for more healing during this time. Mine in particular is a little dark, a little bit dark.
And what does it say?
It says, "No one can save us but ourselves," which is actually a real Buddhist saying. I actually spoke to my father. The countries I grew up in, mostly as a kid, are Buddhist nation, countries that Buddhism is the main religion. And I spoke to him a bit about it. And what I had originally thought of, I can't remember now, was very, very, very dark and very hopeless and very whatnot. And he said, no, Buddhists are not hopeless. It is empowering you. So about that, and I looked for a Buddhist saying that would be more empowering. And no one can save us but ourselves was something that struck, stuck with me. And this image, which I transferred, as you could,
yeah.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Was something that I was going to use on another piece, but never did. So I used it on this.
Ah.
So that was the thing that sort of started it. And then I went on to do, I answered another call for art for a show called Luxury Bloom.
Oh, yeah.
The striations picture I sent you. And that's all about the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah.
A little dark and whatnot. But again, I was able to, respond and come up with something.
But I think a lot of us are dealing with the pandemic in all sorts of different ways, and the fact that you were able to work through it by having something to focus on in particular, helped you to get your creative juices flowing again, and so we all deal with stress and manage it differently, and so since you've responded to these open calls specifically, have you been able to get back into your own studio practice? Or are you still focusing in on specific open calls to help you with your creative block?
Well, you then did your open call, which I'm very grateful for, because I immediately, it was at first hard for me to think of what to do. I couldn't get the image of bullet holes in walls out of my head. And it was hard for me at first to figure out, well, how am I going to depict that, with what I have around here in the house now that I'm sequestered to be indoors, I ended up having to make a trip out into the world to get some material. So in other words, I have been nonstop working on all of these calls, and I'm working on something now that's due in 2 weeks. And as soon as that is done, I will get back to what I was doing. I literally I've had 5 shows during this pandemic.
Yeah, well, that's exciting though. And even though you said you're working through your creative block by responding to these open calls, the work that you have in this exhibition with me, it's still very reminiscent of the body of work that you still already seem to be practicing with.
Yes.
So I'd like to share that work, and we could talk about it, because Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I'm gonna make it a little larger.
Okay.
So this is our Riddled Society, and as you were saying, you couldn't stop thinking about the idea of bullet holes in a wall.
Yeah.
And you even mentioned the fact that you start out with things in your collage work such as maps, which this is the base of your piece is the map.
Yeah. A lot of the main body of my work sort of starts with a map. So somehow they get in there.
Is there a particular reason you believe?
I think it's because of how I grew up and how many travels I've made. I collect maps. I'm obsessed with maps. I love old maps. If I'm at somebody's house and there are maps lying around, I'm in their maps. You know, it's just, and I don't like to refer to, you know, when I'm traveling somewhere, I don't like to go to GPS. I want to get the map out. I want to see where I'm going. To me, maps are very tactile, and everyone understands what they are, that it's a place and whatnot. And usually when I use them in this way, it's not just one map, it's several different maps. It may be, some might be bigger in perspective and smaller in others. I think there's like a total of 4 different cities in what they're this US maps.
Yeah. Well, I noticed, I was looking at it more closely in the gallery, and I saw Route 287 in there.
Well, I don't drive, so I don't know what that means.
Oh, it's Florida, New Jersey.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. I think there's New Jersey, there's North Carolina. I think there might be New Orleans in here. So it's quite and I really take my time. It really becomes part of the visual. Like, for instance, over on the right side, you see all those kind of trailing, you know, near the opening, there's like a trailing, yeah. On the right side.
Over here?
Yeah, like right there. I kind of use it to continue the visual. I'm very specific about how I place things, very specific. And so sometimes a lot of things don't get glued down for a long time until I have the exact placement.
So, yeah. So, tell me more about the bullet holes in the piece as well.
As I said, it's an image that I couldn't get out of my head when I thought about doing this show. I remember very specifically when I was a kid, I remember staring for hours at, for instance, the palace in the city of Saigon, where I lived when I was very young, was just absolutely riddled. So much so it was almost sculptural, you know, how many bullets. And obviously it was machine gun fire and whatnot. But it was both horrific and beautiful to me. And it's always stayed with me. And whenever I travel and I see that, I know what it is. I know, you know, not everyone would necessarily know, but I just happen to. To me, it speaks volumes about the extent that you know, how far violence can go, that it can actually, and guns in particular, they can literally take a building down. If, you know, it's not just an explosion from a bomb, it you know, breaks apart flesh, it breaks apart bodies, it breaks apart lives, it breaks apart our society. So I did this with a variety of mediums. The thickness of it is got from a heavy duty styrofoam that they use in insulation for buildings, it's very dense. It's not that bubbly white stuff. It's very, very dense. And I've worked with it before many times. And I kept going deeper, and I was saying, okay, I'll do, this many bullets. No, I'm just kept going. And so I would have to add to the back more stuff so that it would become deeper, because I had kind of an idea of where I wanted the real depth to go. And then I kept with my drill, kept going and going.
Oh, I was about to ask, what type of tools were you using to make the marks and the indentations in there?
The beginning of the bullet holes were a variety of drill bits.
Okay.
And then I have a whole bunch of sculpting tools that are used for wood and for stone, both of which I've worked with before in various capacities. And it would help me to sculpt out the whole and to cut through things and whatnot.
And what's interesting about this piece, when you see it in person and knowing that you have a background in theater and stage design, I feel like that connection becomes clearer when you see this piece in person, and the way you worked it and the materials you used for it, because it almost seems like it could be a stage prop.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful piece, though.
Thank you. It's something I sort of fight with. It's like, because I do have the capacity to set the stage, so to speak. There's theatrical art, which to me is different than what I'm trying to get across as an artist. So it's like a yin and a yang in my.
I think what I was trying to say, I came across not quite the right way. Not that it seems like it's a stage prop, but you can tell that it was constructed in a way that it could have similarly been constructed for like a theater and whatnot. But it's still a piece of fine artwork.
Thank you.
That's what I was trying to get across.
It's very solid.
Not that it seems like it's a prop, but it's constructed. It's well constructed is really what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, I try to anything that I do, I really it's not frivolous. It's well thought out ahead of time. I want to make it so that it lasts. The edges are very fortified and whatnot. Yeah, it's not flimsy. Last the run of the show, so to speak.
I won't be calling you halfway through. Hey, something fell off.
Right. No.
Yeah. Do you want to take a look at some of the other artwork that you had shared with me?
Sure. Which we were talking about, that I answered a call to art during this whole pandemic.
And this was for the Hamilton Street Gallery?
Right. Yeah.
Luxury boom, haves and have-nots, correct?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, you can definitely see this. Could you tell me what this is made, what the materials and the medium is?
It's mixed media. Can you make it bigger or no?
I can make it. It does get bigger, but it gets a little pixelated.
Okay. I'm trying to think. Do I have it here? I think I might have it here. It is mixed media. It is, again, it's sort of like a collage that then just went on to, the acrylics took over. It is, I do have it here. Hang on a second. it was literally returned to me 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I can't keep track. But this again was created during the time of, can you see?
Yes.
Those are the have-nots, right?
Mm. Yeah.
And then, sorry, there's a table here. So, and then these are the haves.
Oh, I
And
like how it ends.
There's a map here.
I like how it ends like by where, you know, the yacht club probably is.
Yeah. So.
That's beautiful. And
So it's mainly papers, different papers that I found, both, you know, print, both magazine, newspaper, also some stuff that I printed out from, you know, things I found online, and collected papers, you know, this old rough paper, art paper that I have, and maps, candy wrappers.
Oh wow.
Stars.
Oh wow.
You can see that, right?
Yeah.
And then these down here are you know, like soup can labels and stuff. And then it's a series of with most of my things that involve acrylic, it's like a series of washes, acrylic washes, and it kind of, both preserves the papers. You know, they'll be here forever as long as the acrylic holds up. But you know, in shading and whatnot. As you see the center part, can you see the center?
Yeah.
People. Yeah.
I appreciate how it very much, it reminds me of like the layers of the earth.
Thank you. That's exactly, you know, it's like I couldn't think of a title, and I contacted my sister, who is my partner in crime in life, who I grew up with. And she's an English teacher and a writer. And I said, I can't think of a title for this. I said, well, what are you thinking? And I said, I can't get striations out of my head, you know, like the striations of the earth and whatnot. And she thought about it for a while. And then the next day she said, what's wrong with striations?
Yeah.
It says everything you wanted to.
Yeah.
Striations, not just of the earth, but of class.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. That's the one.
So, tell me about the piece that's behind you. I'm very curious about that piece.
Yeah, that sort of started my playing around with acrylics, paper. It's called Delta, and I spent a good deal of my childhood around deltas, the making of Delta, and then later New York City. A lot of my life is sea level. And it's taken me many years to sort of know exactly why I created this, but it's again about Nanette finding her place. It's very, you know, when you grow up, as I did as a kid, in many different cultures, it's so hard to know, to identify, like, your personal identity is just kind of mixed up.
Yeah.
You know, yes, I'm American, but I have all of these very Asian sensibilities. Anyways, so it's Nanette striving to find her place. And I don't know if you can see this, but there are a lot of, there are nests and houses.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
Yeah, they're kind of all through this.
And what do they represent?
Again, my finding my place.
Mm.
Home. Where's home? What's home? Yeah.
So is this an earlier piece, Nanette?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
This sort of I would say I did this around, I think, 2010, 2011, and it sort of started my working with, experimenting with papers and acrylics.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
I'm actually really interested to know a little bit more about your theater background.
Oh. Well, as I said, I when we came here to New York City, it was very, very hard for us. My parents were going through divorce, and my mother returned us here to New York because this is where she grew up. My mother is a Brooklyn babe.
Mm.
I am getting to the theatrical in a minute. At any rate, I was really miserable, and it was really hard for me to fit in. But I started babysitting for a couple who were actors, and they had a kid. And so I was around them all the time. My mother was an artist and an actress, so I was always around art materials and performances.
Mm.
My whole life was like that. So I started babysitting for this couple. And sometimes I would go to rehearsals to take care of the kid while they were doing rehearsals. And I would start making friends with the set designer, the props people, and whatnot. And, when you're a kid, you'll do anything, right? So I started helping out backstage. So that's sort of how it started. I just started volunteering, helping, the set designers and whatnot. And I eventually dropped out of high school. High school dropout because I wanted so much to work in theater, and I would start getting jobs. They were, I wasn't paid that much, but I was working for all these set designers and whatnot, and I was literally learning how to paint on the job.
That's fantastic, though.
And creating props, making old books and aging things and learning stuff like that. So I just kept going.
Yeah.
And it went from theater, and then before I know, I was working on films, and then I was working on
That's really cool.
And of course, I broke my mother's heart when I dropped out of high school. Both my parents are brilliant. My mother went to Cooper Union. My dad went to Columbia, both of them, on scholarship. But I was, I had found a home, so to speak. I had found a family. I had found people that were accepting of me. I think if I hadn't, I probably would have gone on to college and would have gone on to art school. But that didn't happen.
But I mean, we all learn. I think the journey you chose is a little more exciting, honestly.
If for any reason I win the lottery, I always say if I remember to win the lottery, I will probably put myself into college and go to art school, because I never had that focused. A cat just jumped up on my closet table here. I tipped it over. I never had that focused, art learning. Mind you, I'm very educated in terms of art history and all that kind of stuff. You sort of have to be to work in the theater and come up with all of these different period designs and whatnot. So, but I think I would do that. I would love that.
Your journey sounds really amazing and interesting, and not like the ordinary, I got to call, taking those steps that people.
I don't regret.
Yeah.
I don't regret the the shows that I worked on, the people that I worked with, you know, be it musical, be it, dark 3D animations or what. It's been a great ride, and it has afforded me the opportunity. Of course, there's hammering going on now downstairs. It has afforded me the opportunity to experiment on the job with all kinds of materials.
Yeah, and you must have just like an inventory of knowledge of how-tos just to generally like problem solve any sort of art piece you want to construct and make.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
It has given me an appreciation for how to use my time wisely. It's like I have a deadline now, 2 weeks hence, to do something, and there's a lot of steps to it, but I am doing it little by little by little because I have the planned idea in my head. And yeah, no, it's all good.
How do you think your theater background influences your artwork? You mentioned that like a lot of your work has like this fantastical feeling to it and whatnot. Is that influenced by the theater background, or is that influenced by something else?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. It in some ways may like, for instance, this is very surrealistic and whatnot. But then again, the artwork that I grew up around as a kid, my mother, one of the jobs she had was she was an editor for an arts magazine in Southeast Asia. And she would go around dragging us kids with her to, Indonesia, to the Philippines. We go to puppet companies. And so I was exposed to all different kinds of art forms and different, people's ways of telling stories. So I think that gift for fanciful kind of stuff is kind of mixed in there, The thing that I have to fight with is when I worked in theater and as production artist, I had to create art for the commercial, or for the director. Artwork for myself, completely different kettle of fish. So I have to be very careful not to be pleasing who I think my audience is, and just continue to hear my head. Does that make any sense?
Oh, absolutely. I know what I think a lot of artists, especially when they first start, they focus more on their audience than themselves a lot of times. And so yeah, I completely get that. And I think it takes honestly a lot of personal growth to get past that. And Nanette, is there any do you want to talk about any other specific pieces that you have working on, or?
Actually, just before, I'll show you the thing I'm working on now, but I also want to show you something that, just like after I finished the piece for our show, which again, I'm so happy to be in the show. I love this show. I was going through my storage because you see these puppets up here?
Yes.
They're all made out of garbage. I created them for a show that I did 2 years ago and whatnot. And actually there's 4 of them. And only this one, Hero, made it into the show. But I created this whole series, and I haven't done anything specifically with them, even though I had plans. Can you see this guy here?
Yeah.
This is Poet. They're all actually working puppets.
Oh, fun. You know what's so funny I was going to ask you if you've ever made puppets, and then I thought maybe that was an off the wall question.
Well, these are the only puppets I've made for myself. Can you see the puppet up there? He's a rod puppet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're all made out of our garbage. Right? And then this one here, can you see her?
I can see her.
She's a very plastic person.
I like this one a lot.
This is Milady. But at any rate, I dragged them out because I would like to do something with them, and I think I'm in the midst of beginning a little mini script that I want a friend of mine to film.
Oh, that would be exciting. I love this.
I'm actually talking to him about it today, and I wanted to show him because he thinks I'm like wackadoo. But anyway, I said, no, I have them. You don't understand. It's done. The work is done. I'm in the middle of starting this little script. So I don't know quite, how. I was hoping with him to sort of come up with a concept and idea of who the audience would be, which is kind of like, I think, a combination of children and adults. Truth about our, like what garbage has done to us. So that's one thing. But the thing I'm working on now is the day that I delivered my piece to you. Remember that eventful day?
I do.
Life without a car. It's lovely. For the viewing audience, I had to take public transportation during the pandemic to deliver my work of art. And the day before there was a storm and there was no train.
Because, why not have a storm too?
Why not? Just that one line was not working.
Yeah.
So, but fortunately a friend helped me out. But as I was traveling to bring you the piece, I was getting a call from the drawing rooms where I did the original pandemic flags, asking me to make another set of flags for the festival coming up in Jersey City, the art tour that happens in October. They wanted something to be done for the outside of their building. They're asking 2 other artists and myself.
Oh, nice.
So I was like, okay. And she said, let's do it a little bit more. I said, joyful? And she said, yes, joyful. Positive. So I went into my bag. She just happened to call me when I was pulling out the puppets and dragging out supplies and cleaning up my studio to do the next thing. And so I'm now in the midst of making more prayer flags.
Nice.
There's going to be, can you see these?
Yes.
Yeah. The working title is Onomatopoeia.
Ah.
They're all like sound words.
Okay, I get it now.
And this is I have 2 weeks to go. It's still, materials are misbehaving and whatnot, but I want things to make sounds. Whoa, but I mean, things are going to make sounds. These are all in layers. I want
so they're almost like wind chimes in a way.
Right, exactly. But a little bit more whimsical, with words like fizz and toot and coo and sing. How could it not be, more positive?
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's what I'm kind of working on right now. So I have 2 projects I'm working on right now.
That's good though. And, again, going back to, working through creative block, I really do think that, sometimes you just have to give yourself a job to do,
Exactly. Yeah.
And like, you just get through that job, and then maybe, you're still being creative, you're still doing it, and, you eventually figure it out, and you don't just like you don't have to like beat yourself up over the fact that like you're not, maybe working the way you might normally, especially in a time like this.
And I'm like in awe over what you've been able to do with finding a new space for this job. But you've been like nonstop action with this exhibit. I'm like,
it's because I'm finding myself a job to do.
Exactly.
Afterwards, I'll be like, well, now what am I gonna do?
Yeah. No, it's like a whirlwind, right?
Yeah. But no, I'm really blown away by your puppets. By the way, I know a person.
Oh, wow. Yeah. No, I this is my favorite puppet. Actually, is Poet.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite, but he's actually a hand puppet. I mean,
could you show us how it works?
Yeah. Trying to find the armhole here.
These are so fun. And do you know what kind of storyline you wanna have for them?
I want it to be about the effects of trash in our society and how it's affected us.
That's really, and what kind of character would Poet be?
He's the Basquiat. He's the artist. He's the one that comes up with I want him to have like the final say.
Mm-hmm.
The final say in whatever the scenario is. I'm also been loosely talking to my niece-in-law who teaches young children, who's come up with these wonderful, during this time, these wonderful teaching videos and whatnot. So I want to also work with her to see if there's something that I can do that, so the little kids will get it, but then the adults will also.
Yeah. What I really like about this particular character is he reminds me of kind of like a traveling nomad.
Right. Yeah. He has this little cape. This is one of my cats' nemesis. He's I have to be very careful where I put him because he's attacked him. For some reason, he doesn't care about the other puppets, but I think he knows that Poet is my special favorite.
See, now my cat would be terrified of Poet because my cat's afraid of plastic bags.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. That's not the case in this house. No. Yeah. So anyway, no, I'm glad you like them. Good.
Yeah, I especially liked the one with the bubble wrap.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Milady. She has, I don't feel like taking her down because I have her positioned up there. She has toothbrush arms that actually work. So she's good for nothing. Teeny little unmuscly arms, Yeah. When I did work and did television, I did some children's shows, and we did a lot of like 3D animation stuff, and so I would work with the riggers a lot of times.
Wow.
I was always the artist that did the finished product that everybody saw, but I would have to work with the riggers. So I sort of understand a little bit about that kind of.
You just have like a really extensive background on how to get things done.
Yes, yeah.
I feel like I need to learn more from you about this.
It is all over. You're invited over. Sure.
So is there anything in particular additionally you'd like to share with us before we wrap up?
Yeah, I have another show that will be opening soon. It actually was hung in March.
Oh, geez.
It was to open on March 13th. And then the night before, they decided to close it. It's been hanging ever since. I got the email yesterday, and I think that's one of the photographs I sent you. That show will be opening in September, and I've forgotten the date now. I just got the email yesterday. So that's called Resistant Women.
Okay.
There's some really wonderful artists involved in it, like our show. I'm very proud of it. I know some of through the months, you know, my friends that are in the show, and then other ones, we all made friends. And, you know, because we couldn't see each other or see the show, we shared images. So I know that it's a fantastic show, and that's at the Jersey City Theater Center
Okay.
in September. I think it's only for a couple of weeks, but I'll have information on my Instagram account about it, and also my Facebook page about it, and people can message me about it.
And then what is your Instagram so people know?
It's Reynolds.Nanette.
And it's Reynolds, REY.
NOLDS, like Reynolds Wrap, no relation.
Okay. So yeah, if anyone wants to follow Nanette on Instagram, be sure to check that out. And yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon for our artist talk with Nanette. And be sure to take a look at the virtual exhibition at arthustle.net, or you can schedule an appointment. Just go to our website and click on schedule a tour, and any time between now and September 19th, I just need 48 hours in advance, and you can schedule a tour with us. So I hope you have a great day. Thank you, Nanette.
Okay, thanks, Christy.